In progress. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. I appreciate the patience there. My name is Glenn Haight. I'm one of the commissioners and chair of the Commercial Fisheries Entry Commission. Bill Pierce referred to as CFEC or the commission. Today is March 26, 2025. It is a Wednesday. It is 10:11 a.m. Some of us are here in Juneau, some in Anchorage. We're all coming in through the Zoom. This is a public meeting of the commission conducted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. The meeting was noticed on the Alaska Online Public Notice System and sent to interested parties. We've got public access here through this Zoom account, and won't be taking any oral testimony or public comments today, but we're glad you all can join us. Real quickly, I want to introduce staff. For those that we have on, I'll just start with Commissioner Green.
Hi, everybody. I'm Commissioner Rick Green at the Commercial Fisheries Entry Commission, and I have been here at the job since July 1, and I operate usually out of my Anchorage office.
Okay, and I'll just list off the folks that I see here. I know we've got Manly Make, our Executive Director, on. I'm not sure if she's I think she's here. Jennifer Finley is our law specialist. Reed Johnson, our research section lead. And I think Robin Lorette is on, our hearing officer, our adjudications lead. Susan Runkfeld, our licensing section lead, is on. And Josh, thanks to Josh Sanders again, as always, for technical support. Great. Well, we're here to cover a few things before I get into talking about what authority we're operating under today. We just want to review the agenda, and I'll skip to parts 3, 4, and 5. So part of the agenda. The first item is a look at reviewing and adopting proposed regs that add dip net gear to Cook Inlet Salmon set gillnet permits. That's the main purpose of today's meeting. We also want to discuss and review the status of the proposed reg project that we have ongoing to add beach seine gear again to Cook Inlet Salmon set gillnet permits. That's an ongoing active proposed reg. And then do an update on the Kodiak herring food and bait permit optimum number study report and the follow-up that we spoke to in February on the 12th we met. So does anyone else have other items that they want to have added to this? Not seeing anything.
I have none, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. One thing I do want to I'll add, if I could, is the question of waiving fees for the East Side set net fleet for 2025 if they do not choose to dip net. I don't think we have to decide that today if we don't want to. I was reminded, Ms. Runkfeld reminded me that we did do that last year. So for anyone who had registered for the East Side set net, if they had done that and did not fish dip nets, their fees were waived. We want to go through that subject a little bit. If we decide on today, fine. If not, we can do it later. Okay. So I'll start by talking a little bit about authorities that we have here to conduct this. And this is all Limited Entry Act 1643. I'll skip say 1643 every time and just skip to the latter part. 040 speaks to quorum. We have that today with Commissioner Green and myself on. 2 of us are here. More importantly, under duties and powers, that's under 100 duties and general powers. The first one is to regulate entry into the commercial fishery. We have item 6 is to establish qualifications for the issuance of entry permits. And then number 9 is to establish for all gear types the optimum numbers of entry permits for each admin area. This is sort of related to the Kodiak subject. And number 12, provide for the transfer and reissuance of entry permits for alternative types of legal gear, and speaks, I think, to what we're here to talk about today. There's a statute 110, the regulations and hearing procedures. It speaks to using the use of proposed regs to promulgate the Limited Entry Act. There's the 120 is the application of the Administrative Procedures Act, and this is getting conducted these proposed reg projects are conducted under the Administrative Procedures Act. Sections 290 through 330 speak to optimum numbers, revisions, buybacks, and issuing new permits, which relates in large part to the Kodiak debate subject. And then there's 950 in the back of the statutes, which is related to the Board of Fisheries. And in that, there's nothing in this chapter that limits the powers of the Board of Fish. So they function and as they do, creating fisheries as they will. And we generally respond to make sure it's what they do is consistent with the I'll stop there. Ms. Finley, anything else to add on that? Or see anything glaring that we could probably speak to in terms of authorities?
Not at the moment, but if something does come up, I will let you know.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, item 3 on the agenda is the decision on the current proposed reg to add the dip net gear on Cook Inlet Salmon set gillnet permits. So the SO4 H, and just wrote that. So I'll start with a little bit of an overview of what's happened, and I'll ask Ms. Finley to pitch in on that. We, of course, last summer we proposed regs probably in April to add dip net gear to the Cook Inlet set gillnet gear. That was as a permanent regulation. Of course, immediately received a lot of input from folks that it was not a great idea, didn't support it. That was happening, and then subsequently learned that Fish and Game would not open the fishery unless our regs were final. So we issued an emergency reg at the end of May, and that became effective immediately. So that allowed the fishery to occur. And again, I received another barrage of comments that spoke to what a poor idea this was to add dip nets. So when it came time to decide whether they should be permanent gear, and that was on June 25th of last year, I decided to let the emergency regs ride and fish it out through the summer. And if people really wanted this to happen, that instead of it being the Board of Fish Action, it could come from the folks that were actually involved in the fishery. So we did receive that. I don't have the date written down, but I think it's the end of August, we received requests to make it permanent. Did that. I believe those regs were issued in early October. Ms. Finley, do you have a date exactly? Or is that, am I off with that?
You guys approved the petition on August the 20th.
Okay.
And then we published notice regarding the regs on October the 11th of 2024. And then there was a public hearing on November the 2nd. And then public comment period closed on November the 22nd.
That's it. Thank you so much for that. So we were from then we were on a holding pattern until the Board of Fish met this last March, the middle of March, and they had a couple, at least one agenda change request in front of them, and that was to add more time to the add more time to the fishery, the dip net fishery, to allow people to have more access. And so they did approve that, and let's see, I've got that as. If you're looking at the Board of Fish material, it was RC 71, I believe, that they approved to increase the fishing time Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if it's open by fishing. Okay, so we talk more about this and our thoughts on it, but maybe what we could do, Mr. Green, is make a motion to adopt these regs.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll make the motion to adopt the regulation making dip nets a permanent alternative gear site in the east side set gillnet Cook Inlet fishery.
Thank you very much. So, so Commissioner Green, I don't know if you had any questions for staff.
No, I have no questions for staff. I would like to say that while I think we were all skeptical of this coming up, we did hear especially in the public testimony, some very positive feedback from some people who took the opportunity to experiment around with using their dip nets. And a lot of people always turn to the American farmer as the innovator. I really start to see it as the American commercial fisherman. And I'm excited to see what they can do with this.
Thank you. Great. I too don't have any questions for staff here. I did want to make a couple notes though, because we've heard some things in public comment. There was one public comment that was concerned. Oh, excuse me. One thing about public comment, we're going to post those, or if we haven't already, we'll post those on the Alaska Online Public Notice System for the proposed regs. If you search for that, you can find the public comments for both the DipNet and the beach seine. And if you can't find it, please shoot us a note and we'll send you the link.
They are there and they're reopened, and
Okay.
the comments are an attachment to each of the original public notices.
Great.
Or
Thanks for doing
the
that.
regulations.
Appreciate that. Much obliged. So there was one comment that was concerned that the way we had written the proposed reg, it may interfere with the ability for permit holders to fish the 4 dip nets that's allowed under Board of Fisheries. We wrote, allows the use of a dip net under, and I talked to Ms. Finley about this, and we're of the same mind. This doesn't limit what the Board of Fish set in their regulations. Certainly, this is just providing the ability to use dip net. They're the ones that will create the broader authority, and certainly if they said 4 dip nets, that works for us. So just want to cover that. The other, a theme that we've had here and prevailing is that people are concerned that there is an attempt to make dip net the gear for this fishery. And I just want to point out that we have tied it in the proposed reg to 5 AAC 21-382, which is the stock of concern management plan dealing with king salmon and kenai, and it is narrow to that. So in our read of this is not a replacement. This is when we're in this stock of concern mode, which we're in now, that dip nets are used. But if we come out of that, they are not a legal gear type. I do appreciate Board of Fish taking a crack at this and making it a little more potentially lucrative. I too share in Commissioner Green's observation that there are people that wish to use this and did use it to some success. And I recognize the concerns of others who were very troubled by this. I'm just trying to balance providing some opportunity for people willing to do this under the state of stock management concern. While certainly appreciating that this is a temporary thing and not intended to replace said gillnets. So that's all I have to say. Any other comments or thoughts?
No, I think you covered it all well.
Okay, so maybe I'll call the question then and ask Ms. Finley to restate the motion and do a quick little vote.
Okay. On the motion to adopt dip nets as an alternative gear type in the Cook Inlet set net salmon fishery under the King Salmon stock of concern management plan, how do you vote, Commissioner Haight? I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Forgive me. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
And Commissioner Green?
I am an affirmative yes as well.
Okay, and the motion is passed.
Thanks. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Now, this is going to go through the Board of Fish, project. It still needs to go through Department of Law, and so that is something that has to happen. And we'll wait and see how that goes, but I'm assuming that will go through. All right, number 4 is really a discussion about the status of our proposed reg project to add beach seine gear again to the Cook Inlet salmon set gillnet permit, the SO4H. And so on this one, that we were observing the agenda change request to the Board of Fish back in October to add beach seines to this to this permit category. And so in anticipation of that, we did open a proposed reg project. I think it went live in February. Again, it would follow whatever action happened from the Board of Fish. It's just for those, you know, who want to learn a little bit about the horrible bowels of regulatory writing in the state of Alaska. You cannot, you know, it takes, if you send a proposed reg project to the Department of Law, they're giving themselves 60 days to get that back to you. And then we have to go to the notice requirements and the written comment requirements. That's 30 more days. We have to have time to think about those comments. We have to then put it back to Department of Law for their approval if we approve the regs, and all of that is now, you know, 4 months probably. So we wanted to do the best we could to get in front of to get ourselves lined up so that we wouldn't have to push for emergency regs. And so that's why we did this in advance of the Board of Fish action, and sort of anticipating that if they did approve the seine gear type, that we would need to follow up with some action on our own. So I'll stop and ask Ms. Finley, do you have anything else to speak to in terms of our proposed reg on this one?
Just that because the Board of Fish did not pass the regs to allow for beach seine as an alternative gear type under the King Salmon stock concern management plan, that basically renders this project closed, moot, because it was contingent upon that being passed by the Board of Fish.
And with that being said, I'm under the belief that I should make a motion to terminate our project, and I would like to make that if that be the case.
I can second that.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds
and on that
good.
motion to close,
A little bit of discussion, if I could, just
Okay.
before we close it out. Before I call the question, I just want to ask, maybe, I don't know, Mr. Dawson, you were there at the board meeting. Actually, Commissioner Green, you were as well. I mean, is there any comments you have about that, or? Okay.
No comments. It didn't pass. It was, I believe it was modified so that seine would replace setnet during the stock of concern management plan. And then after that, substitute language was accepted and went to a vote in it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Commissioner Green, do you want to, any observations or just general discussion about it? Or?
Yeah, and I think I think, of course, what the board and even the Commissioner of Fish and Game with his commissioner's permit is trying to do is everybody's trying to come up with an alternative method to allow harvest while protecting the king salmon. And even though this didn't pass, I would anticipate some more requests for commissioner's permits. And possibly, as we spoke of in the other one, with the innovative nature of these fishermen, coming up with alternatives such as using beach seines, all seem to be possible as long as it ensures the safety of the Chinook salmon in this time of the stock of concern. So I just want to take this moment and encourage thoughts from everyone. Innovative ways to create harvest, because you know, part of our mission is the economics of commercial fishing, and that's what we're talking about here. So I just want to encourage everyone to keep thinking of possible new ways to create harvest, because I think the board, the Commissioner of Fish and Game, and us are all in agreement that we are all looking for that as well.
Great. Yeah, thanks for that. A couple comments and thoughts in regard to that, to some degree. One of the things that we've heard in opposition to beach seines is that it wasn't something that really could effectively extend to the 330, all the 330 permit holders in the east side, and you know, in fact, you know, if it was just limited to people who had beach leases, then it was something in the order of 40 to 50 people, which is about 10%. So I understand the concern there, and there would need to be more than dip nets there, because dip nets are only thought to be really effective in the sort of near river mouths areas, which is where a lot of these beach seine, these beach leases are. I mean, there just needs to be other solutions for certainly your Ninilchik region, you know, your offshore fisheries, whether it's the use of a live capture gear with leads, you know, we heard all those things. Those are all really important. And I hope that there is consideration for that. I was very concerned about one Board of Fish comment there. A member commented that he would like to see no drift or set net, gill net fisheries in Cook Inlet. And that is where I think we have a problem with that. Unless the Board of Fish is going to be part of the solution for all 330 people that have fished the east side, then CFEC is going to have a problem with that. Because if really what they want to do is allow for just 10% of our existing permit holders to have a fishery, then that could be problematic. And so I couldn't let that comment go without saying something about it. That was rather shocking for me. I don't know if I'm sure other folks on the east side and the drift fishery were concerned about it as well. So that's my comment on that. So any other follow-up or thoughts?
Nope, I'll call the question.
All right, question has been heard.
On the motion to close the project for the adding beach seine, Commissioner Hayne
Yes, please terminate.
and Commissioner Green.
Yes, please terminate.
Okay, motion is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 5, an update, call it that, on the Kodiak herring food and bait. We did an optimum number study. And in February, we spoke to this. We were looking at acting on that optimum number study, which showed that there was potential for 15 seine and gillnet permits to be added to that fishery. And the optimum number study showed the trawl fishery was the optimum number study was 0 because they have actually not fished since the 90s and have not fished during limited entry. We were operating on a petition dating back from October 2023 to add more petitions to the food and bait fishery, and as it had become too exclusive. So that was sort of the genesis of a lot of that work. Maybe I'll turn to Mr. Johnson to describe the optimum number studies reports. And then, well, forgive me, one other thing before I turn it over to you, Mr. Johnson. Since our February meeting, at the Southeast meeting, the Board of Fish added an interesting proposal to shift a lot of that spring allocation to the fall. And so that was in front of the Board of Fish in March, and they passed it. So there's definitely a different shift in what's going on. And so with that, I'll turn it to Mr. Johnson maybe to discuss your optimum number study reports and what happened at the Board of Fish.
Thank you to the chair, and for the record, my name is Reed Johnson. I'm the research section leader here at the Commercial Fisheries Entry Commission. So the optimum number studies were conducted for both food and bait, seine and trawl permit types. The results were 1 to 15 permits for seine gear and 0 permits for trawl gear. That 1 to 15 number was based upon, in large part, the amount of GHL that was available to harvest. Obviously, this has significantly changed after this last Board of Fish meeting. The food and bait GHL has effectively doubled in the foreseeable future. The stipulation that the optimum number of permits for trawl gear is 0 was based in large part upon restrictions by fishing game, the provision that only 1 permit be allowed to go fish at a time. And since this fishery was limited, trawl gear has never participated. So de facto, the optimum number for trawl gear is 0. That's historically what has participated in the past, and there has been afforded no ability for them to participate if even one other gear type or one other vessel was to participate. Fishing game has basically stated they were uncomfortable with more than one vessel fishing at a time. Obviously, with the optimum number study, those conclusions being based in large part upon those 2 facts and both of those things changing, we would have to do the optimum number studies again. 1, for the new level of GHL. 2, because participation is no longer going to be limited to a single permit at a time in any given year. And in fact, this was no longer limited in 2024, although that announcement was made fairly close to the opening of the, I think the fleet had time to react to that. Yeah, and so in the future, when I'm clear with the optimum number studies that I currently have on my docket for Prince William Sound, I'll be taking up this issue again if the commissioners wish me to. I think at the Board of Fish meeting, we saw negotiations occurring between the food and bait sacro permit holders, which ultimately are going to bring more herring to market, which, in my personal opinion, I think is a good thing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Johnson. I appreciate that. Maybe Commissioner Green, you were there too at the Board of Fisheries meeting. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this.
I think Reed and his optimum number study and where he thinks this is going. I concur. Bringing more herring to market is a positive thing and in line with the Commercial Fisheries Entry Commission and the Limited Entry Act.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think I appreciated the creative solution that folks took there. You know, it still didn't take us away from the fundamental question of whether or not sacro permit harvesters can fish for food and bait, which is what will happen, and whether or not that's a problem. And so we put the question to law. I'll just paraphrase what I recall coming back, but see if Ms. Finley has more to add. Basically, the Board of Fish Action is going to go through the ringer at Department of Law. Both the Natural Resource section are going to take a look at it, and the regulations section will both take a look at it. And if they feel it's a violation of the Limited Entry Act, then we have to deal with this. That was what I took back on that. But Ms. Finley, does that sound about right? I don't want to mischaracterize.
It does. Just to kind of clarify some of the process for us, when we do a regulatory project, we have to draft the regulatory language and then we send it to Department of Law for them to tear apart, review that 60-day period that you discussed earlier. And that is before we then public notice and go through the comment period. And then once it's passed, if it's passed, then it goes back to law for a final review. For Board of Fish, they do things a little bit differently. They have the proposals that are approved at the Board of Fish meeting, which is what happened with this particular proposal. And then they take the draft language, and that is the first time that Department of Law gets to review that. So when it's presented at the meetings, it's not necessarily what's going to be final, and there could be changes. There could be, in this case, it could be that Department of Law finds that it is a violation of the Limited Entry Act, and then it goes back to the drawing board with where they go from there. So it's a little bit different process that they do than what we do with our regulations. So at this point it is going to Department of Law for them to review, and we have been told basically that we need to wait for them to do their work on this to determine whether it violates the Limited Entry Act or not, and then we can kind of react at that point, depending on what they find.
Yeah.
I will also I also kind of wanted to comment on the optimum number studies, because some of what I was hearing during the Board of Fish meeting, I think there may be a misunderstanding when it comes to an optimum number study. The optimum number study that Mr. Johnson does is simply that. It is a statistical analysis and a recommendation of what an optimum number should be, and that's published for the public and the fishermen to review. It is not the same thing as the commission setting an optimum number for the fishery. After an optimum number study is done, it is still on the commission to present that in our normal manner as a proposed regulation to set an optimum number. And in this case, we did not do that, mostly because, of what the proposal was that went before the Board of Fish. So nothing has been done with an optimum number in this fishery at all at this point. And it may be done in the future, but it has not been done at this point. The studies are simply that they're a study and a recommendation. And I just kind of wanted to clarify that for everyone. But as for what the Department of Law said, yeah, basically we need to sit and wait and see what the review does for the Board of Fish proposal regarding this topic.
Reed, did you have your hand up there for a second?
Yeah, I wanted to reiterate one more time. This is maybe something that could use some more clarity. Because of what happened at the Board of Fish with the GHL being increased, like the previously published optimum numbers no longer apply to the fishery as it is going to be prosecuted in the future. All the inputs to the equation have changed, so the result is going to change, most likely drastically. It's hard to make that conclusion before any nets have hit the water, before we see what the market does, before we see what the participation is. But until we have that new information, there's really not going to be a way to see how this will change, what the conclusions of my study will be. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Thanks for both of you for that. I agree. Board of Fish Action, I think was a good problem solving piece of work, and it changes what we have to look at, and we need to wait and see, what happens. I will tell you, just as a side note for those who might be interested, we went, Ms. Finley and I and others on CFEC went through a thought process with this example about what it would take to do a buyback for the trawl fishery of some kind, because the optimum number was lower than the number set. And we also went through the statutes and looked what it would take to issue new permits. The issuing new permits isn't as clumsy as the buyback provisions, but we've just found that in so many of these fisheries situations quite unique, and our existing statutes do not allow us to problem solve and be somewhat creative to try to help remedy some of these situations. And so that's something that the legislature would need to take up, and if they want to try to create greater flexibility with CFEC to be able to do some of these things, that will be necessary. One other question I have. Oh, let me stop there. Commissioner Green, any comments here at this point?
Yeah, no, in the exercise of trying to be creative to come up with a way, yeah, I would like to especially comment and compliment my fellow commissioner, Glenn Haight, with doing some creative gymnastics and trying to get it done. Unfortunately, we are very limited, and I think that I think it should go recognized that the creative thoughts behind it were innovative, and if allowed to go forward, we're lucky to have Commissioner Haight at our behest.
Kind. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so one other thing, and I don't know if we have Executive Director Make off mute.
I believe she is here. Hold on a second.
And it's not critical. I know that she was trying to set up a meeting in Kodiak on herring. My question to the group here is: do we still, given that we're just on a holding pattern and we don't have much that we need to act on, we're kind of lucky in that regard, do we still need to have a meeting in Kodiak? Because we were gonna at that meeting talk about what kind of regulatory schemes we come up with this, but that's no longer necessary. So does the group want to still have that meeting, or will we just be slowing people down when we get there?
Yeah, my vote would be that we would be having an unnecessary meeting in a time when people are getting together to come up with new ideas to move the industry forward.
Yeah.
Without from my perspective, without additional information, without see how these changes work out, there's really not a lot I can do, or that I would be able to contribute to the meeting if we were to have a meeting. Any information that came up with would be based upon, assumptions at this point about how the season would go, and I don't feel that's appropriate. I'd much rather have the data in front of me before I speak to it.
Thanks for that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, Annie?
Yeah, I don't think we need to hold that meeting. If you guys are okay with that, and we can go ahead and I haven't scheduled it in yet anyways.
Okay.
So if you guys are okay with that, I won't put any more effort into it.
Okay, thanks for that. I think we got folks from Kodiak are listening. If we hear from them, yes, please have a meeting. We want to talk more about this. Great, we'll hear from them. We'll be at a booth there at the convention center, so everyone can come talk to us about more of their thoughts on this, and I'm sure they will. But maybe we can skip on having a formal public hearing and exercising everyone over this issue if there's really just a wait and see. If that's okay.
Okay.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for that. Well, we don't have any formal action to take on this item because we hadn't really gotten started. The last thing, if I could, forgive me, Commissioner Green, anything else you want to add on?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, we will be there at Kodiak Confish.
Yeah.
And looking forward to have the conversation we'll have, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The final thing I just added was the question of waiving fees for east side setback permit holders who choose not to fish the dip nets. We can tell that after the fact because we'll know who fished. And also they will have registered with Fish and Game. And so Ms. Rumfield again reminded me that we did waive those last year for people. I had forgotten that. And I'm happy to waive it again for folks, but I do believe it's a decision for both of us. And Commissioner Green, if you're not prepared to make that decision today, then we can certainly come at it again. But I wanted to just raise it here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty clear on how I feel and how I think about it. Although I would like to ruminate on it a little bit more.
No worries. No, I'll just flag that here. And the next time we get together in one of these meetings, we can add it to the agenda. Okay. Does anyone else have any other things they want to chat about here while we're all getting together on a spring day?
No, I'm good.
Right.
And seeing no one else, I guess I'll make the motion to adjourn.
And I will second that if that's what I do. So yes, at 10:48 we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for your help and for those listening in, thanks for joining. We look forward to hearing any comments you might have.
Thank you, everybody.
Great. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Take care.
You. Bye.